The family of a 20-year-old woman from Indiana is desperate for answers. Lateche Norris traveled from the Midwest to California to be with her boyfriend and enjoy the beaches of San Diego. 3 weeks ago, she called her mom from a stranger's phone number, but that phone call was the last time that she's been heard from. News Nation correspondent Nancy Liu is live for us in Southern California tonight after speaking with Lateche's mom. Nancy, she says she is not going to stop searching for her daughter.
Never, Marnie, and mothers everywhere can certainly understand. Lateche Norris, she loves the beach. That's what drew her here to the West Coast, leaving her family in Indiana to meet up with a California boyfriend she had met just months earlier. Soon after her arrival, she went missing. So her family is here now, too.
I'm going to keep going until she's found. I'm just not going to stop. I'm going to get louder. I'm going to keep going.
Cheryl Walker has been going nonstop since arriving from Indiana over a week ago, driving all over Southern California to look for her 20-year-old daughter, Lateche Norris. In her trail, new flyers at many beach communities. Mother and daughter last spoke over 3 weeks ago when Lateche called from a stranger's phone.
She didn't sound frantic, but it was just, you can hear like when you're kind of scared, but you don't want the person you're talking to know, but you can kind of hear it in their diaphragm.
Lateche had talked about a big argument with her boyfriend the night before, and she promised to call again later. Walker now regrets not keeping her on the phone longer.
She said, "I will, Mama, I promise." I said, "I love you." She said, "I love you more." And that was it. Nobody's heard from her since.
Days later, Walker reported her daughter missing to San Diego police, insisting Lateche might be in danger. The department did not respond to an interview request about the case and has told the family Lateche is not considered at risk.
This is my child, and nonprofit organizations and strangers are doing more than the people who get paid to do this. And that's tough. That's tough.
One of those organizations is A Voice for the Voiceless, which also questions the lack of urgency from police.
She is at risk. She's a female. She's stranded. She had minimal resources. She went out there to be with someone that doesn't have the best track record, isn't the most reliable person, and we are concerned because he has completely gone silent.
Walker continues to reach out to that boyfriend despite no response. For now, returning to Indiana is out of the question.
I can't leave now, because if I leave now, I feel like it's going to get quiet. And I can't, so I have to stay until something happens. Hopefully we can find her, but if not, then I have to keep going until it gets big enough to where someone else can, because I'm not going to stop until then.
Cheryl Walker is hoping someone out there can provide information that can reunite her with the daughter she calls her mini-me. Anyone who has possibly seen Lateche is encouraged to call Walker directly at 765-422-1600. Walker aims to personally investigate every tip that she receives. Marnie?
Just hear the frustration in that mom's voice, Nancy. It is so relatable. I think we would all be relentless in our fight as well. You mentioned Lateche called from a stranger's phone. I don't know any 20-year-old who doesn't have their own phone with them. Any idea where Lateche's phone is? Did mom have any evidence in that?
Yeah. Mom would love to know where that phone is. It is off. And Lateche came out here with a cell phone. That boyfriend is known to use burner phones or use friends' phones. And those are the numbers the mom has been calling. And as you've heard, it's been silence. Nothing.
Nancy, what more do we know about the boyfriend who is unreachable?
Yeah, he had been in Indiana. They had met at a party when he was out in Indiana visiting friends. They do have mutual friends. They bonded because they are both aspiring tattoo artists, but he has, according to the family, a drug dependency problem, and that apparently was the heart of the argument, the big argument right before Lateche went missing.
All right, Nancy, thank you. A lot of people looking for 20-year-old lateche Norris. Jennifer Koffendorfer is one of them. She is a former FBI agent and has been digging into the details of this case, and she is joining us live tonight. Jennifer, as always, appreciate your time. So lateche's mom is terrified that her daughter is in danger. She's frustrated with police and authorities that they aren't doing more. Where should she, or where would you be focusing your efforts right now in trying to find lateche?
Well, I think if we can find the boyfriend, Joey, we can likely find lateche. And I think the way we find Joey is to look at his underlying addiction. This is an addiction to alcohol or marijuana. This is an addiction to fentanyl and heroin, from my understanding. And these are very hard drugs. These are drugs that you don't get at a store or at from a bartender. And so they need to be looking where these drugs would be sold. In addition, she went there to a situation where she knew she would be in a homeless situation, at least for a time. She talked about having a tent and possibly having to live in this tent. And that's where we need to be concentrating the efforts in finding her, is a homeless situation. In addition, we know that although she left with a phone, the phone had no service. The phone could be used if she were in a Wi-Fi situation, but other than that, there was no way for her really to communicate. She doesn't have a computer or other means to communicate. So we need to concentrate on the areas they would most likely be.
Let's talk about the police for a minute. They say that they are investigating, but they don't consider lateche at risk. Why not, given the information that we have from mom?
Well, I do believe, I guess I would beg to differ. I think she is at risk from the standpoint of the individual that she is around and likely the environment she's finding herself in. In addition, we know that they were both arrested very recently for domestic violent assaults. They were both arrested, actually, and that there is an order not to see one another that has been issued. They have a court date in December, I believe December 21st, in regard to this domestic violence situation. So I actually very much would consider her in danger from the standpoint of this background of her domestic violence situation she's in.
Mm-hmm. And if you look through the thread of social media, a lot of people comparing this to the very early days when Gabby Petito went missing, and there was some concern about her whereabouts and that they couldn't reach Brian Laundrie. Many families, Jennifer, you know, are critical of law enforcement in these early stages of someone disappearing. The families are frustrated that they're not having answers met. There isn't a sense of urgency, at least from what it appears to many of us from law enforcement. What are some of the factors in play when police are looking at missing persons, specifically those who are above the age?
Well, I think there's a couple of things in this particular case we need to consider. First of all, we're talking about an environment where it is a homeless type environment, most probably. They don't have jobs, they don't have cell phones, they don't have ways that can easily track somebody. It's difficult in this police environment to then search for somebody. However, what they do have is they have beat cops that are going to be out there. There's a case open, I saw. They definitely are looking. If we've learned anything from these cases, it's that the FBI and law enforcement are not overt with what they're doing in their investigations. They love the media involvement because the media puts the person's face out there in circumstances so we can all be on the look, but they don't like involvement in the particulars of what they're doing. So I would say to Cheryl, the mother of lateche, that there is investigation going on if they can just be more patient, but this one's going to be tricky.
It's tough to do when it's your child. Jennifer, I have a lot more questions for you, and I know people on social media have a lot of questions as well. So you're going to stick around later in the show and be answering some of your questions at home. So if you have a question for Jennifer on the disappearance of lateche Norris, you can send us your questions using the hashtag NewsNationPrime, and Jennifer will be back later in the show. And if you have any information on the whereabouts of lateche, please call the San Diego Police Department. We have that number on your screen. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get